Say my name so my powers may flow through you.
But I don't know your name, sir.
Shazam.
Are you for real?
Say okay.
Shazam?
We all have a superhero inside us. It just takes a bit of magic to bring it out. In Billy Batson's case, by shouting out one word, Shazam! This streetwise 14-year-old foster kid can turn into the grown-up superhero Shazam. Written by Henry Gayden, story by Henry Gayden and Darren Lemke, based on the characters created by Bill Parker and C.C. Beck, directed by David F. Sandberg. Shazam!
Shazam! It's finally here. The other Captain Marvel, kinda, sorta.
The not legally viable Captain Marvel,
Right.
due to some shenanigans. Do you know the story, by the way, of the shenanigans behind that?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, for the audience, basically, Shazam came out, was originally called Captain Marvel, got sued by DC. DC won and got the rights for the character, and DC at the time just shelved the character. And after a while, the copyright expired, so Marvel kind of took advantage of that and created a character named Captain Marvel, so they couldn't use it.
And then DC decided to dust him off, bring him back, but now he's just called Shazam because they can't call him Captain Marvel.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But the real question is, Joe, what'd you think of it?
I think it's probably pretty obvious. This is a very enjoyable film for damn sure.
Yes.
I would think that most people would have a hard time saying that it's not. I enjoyed all of it, and I was very surprised at. Not surprised that it's good, but surprised that they were able to keep it pretty consistent. I was kind of waiting for them not so much to drop the ball and become a bad movie. But there were moments where I noticed they were dancing very close to the line of being a little adultish. Was kind of wondering, are they going to cross that line? No? But they kept it very consistent, and this is front to back, top to bottom, a competent film.
I had a blast with this movie. I did. I laughed. I found myself emotionally connected to, surprisingly, nearly all the characters. This plot worked very, very well. The emotional aspect of it, I felt, worked very, very well. The acting across the board, whether it was the young person or the old person, I thought was okay. I had a little problem with Zachary Levi, but it's really nitpicky more than anything else. But we'll get to that. And yeah, I highly recommend this movie. I had a great time. It's still very comic booky, but yet managed to be its own thing and tell a story that maybe not many people know. And managed to fit in so many elements of the comic that I actually had to look it up. It's like, is that actually in the... Holy smokes, that's actually in the comic. Holy moly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, honestly,
That's kind of impressive.
I felt like when you got into real weirdness, chances are it was in the comic, and that's sort of why I was there.
Yeah, pretty much. Which we're not going to spoil right now because this is the beginning where we always try to talk in generalities just to give the audience the idea, hey, should we see this? We're saying you should see this.
And bring your kids.
But definitely bring your kids. It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's a fun... It's actually kind of a family movie. Who knew?
It's a great family movie, actually. I think it's... Yeah. Again, we'll get into it, but that's one of the things that really surprised me about this. It's sort of a family movie on multiple levels, quite frankly. And yeah, boy, did it work. It was really terrific. I think a lot of people will really gravitate towards this film. It's got heart and soul. And that's, the missing piece for a lot of these DC movies. Or movies in general.
I agree.
But again, it sort of swings. It's almost like a film that is swinging for a double and kind of surprises itself with a triple.
That's an interesting analogy. And you know what? Now that we're going to get into the spoiler discussion, let's get into some detail about it. So, the caterpillar is the ruler of the 7 realms, huh?
Wow, and that's from the comics.
It is from the comics, yes.
When I saw that, I was just like, I didn't know it was from the comics until afterwards, But as soon as I saw that, I kind of went, "Oh, that's gotta be from the comics," because I swear to God, I'm saying to myself, by the time Shazam 2 comes along, we're gonna have a talking tiger.
Gosh, I hope so.
I mean,
The only thing that really surprised me more than anything else, I was actually surprised there wasn't a surprise cameo from The Rock. Because when the credits started rolling, the first name that popped up is produced Dwayne Johnson. And that's because The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, whatever you want to call him, I don't give a crap. But he is slated to play Shazam's #1 villain, Black Adam.
right.
We've talked about it. He's been slated to play this for so damn long that it's kind of become a joke with us. Now that this movie's come out, I guess we're going to see Black Adam. But yeah, I saw his name as part of the executive producer at the end, and I thought, oh boy, maybe we're going to get a cameo from him. And instead, we got a very Marvel-esque set of closing credits, down to the Ramones as the closing song, just like out of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The half-credit scene that is an integral plot that'll be played out later in the films, and then a joke credit all the way at the end. Like,
which was almost
seriously,
Deadpoolish.
Yeah!
Totally.
Extremely Deadpoolish.
You know, it's funny too, because honestly, as you're kind of refreshing my memory, all I heard for years, as soon as they said Shazam, they went, and The Rock is going to play Black Adam. Yeah! And it's all we heard for the better part of years, I think. So
pretty much.
Yes. It wasn't until years later it's like, oh, this other guy's going to play Shazam, by the way. And I'm like, who's that? Yeah, no. I don't know who he was, whatever. Didn't know anything about it, but all we knew was like, oh, The Rock. So yeah, that's the one thing we did not get in this film.
Did you see that?
Yeah, you electrocuted a bus and almost killed these people.
And then I caught it!
Let's talk for a minute, ladies and gentlemen, about inclusion. Let's talk a minute about the... what's the other word I'm looking for, Joe?
Diversity?
I can't remember it off. Diversity! There's the word!
I thought I was going to be the one. Go ahead.
Nope. I'm bringing it up because let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Not a single trailer mentioned a single thing about the sidekicks. And in the end, that's what they became, was sidekicks. Straight out of the comic sidekicks. Which, by the way, bless the marketing of this movie for not spoiling that before the movie came out. I was elated when that happened. Like, really, like, genuinely surprised and happy when that happened. My point that I was trying to make about inclusion and diversity is here we have an inclusive and diverse cast. And you know why it worked? Because each of the characters had great moments on their own without overpowering or the main plot or anything like that, became part of the plot line organically, and they didn't shine a huge spotlight on it like, look how good we are. This is my problem with the terms inclusion and diversity.
Yeah.
When you put a spotlight on it, it's like you're justifying it. This movie didn't feel it had to justify it. It just did it. And it was beautiful the way it was. I had zero problem with the casting at all.
I will agree with you 100%. And honestly, I sort of walked out thinking to myself, boy, that was sort of a stroke of luck that the Shazam character actually had the Shazam family, which probably just even shy of a couple of years ago, they would never have touched. But today, they kind of looked at it and went, wait a second, not only am I going to use that, but that's exactly what I need to appeal to the diversity crowd. And they had a very well-balanced, diverse crowd.
But it didn't feel pandering. That
Agreed.
was my thing. It was done in a way that felt real.
Completely agreed. I agree. As much as I'm teasing and joking, I agree with that. It really did work with the story, the Foster family, all of that worked well, and frankly worked on multiple levels, because just the story, the theme of family works really well. And again, other films would make it feel like an after-school special. Not at all here. It works because, again, it's his story about being an orphan and a foster child and living with a foster family, and understanding the value of that family versus the real family that he thinks he wants, that he had missed all along. I thought that worked terrific. It was totally organic and totally worked with the story and made it better.
And not only, and you mentioned the family part, what I loved is how they actually parallel with the hero and the villain about family.
Yes.
Dr. Sivana's got that, family that just treats him like crap, and he just strikes back in his own way. Billy Batson was brought up with no family and winds up with an adoptive family of sorts. And I just loved that little parallel, and I love the way that it played out in the movie. Mark Strong, first of all, that man can play menace by barely batting an eyelash. That man just lives menace.
Yeah.
But I really liked the more subtle moments, like when he confronts his father in that scene in the boardroom.
Not what I would call subtle, but I get what you're saying.
Well, subtle in the respect that when he's first talking with him and everything like that, there's a childlike desperation in the sound of his voice. Not that self-assured person that went and had no qualms about the woman slamming on the door after she found the 7 symbols 7 times or anything like that. You could just tell that he's still that broken little kid in the backseat of that car. And I liked that. I liked that he put that little bit of nuance in it, On the other hand, and a problem that I have with this movie, actually, is Zachary Levi's performance as Shazam.
Really?
Because, well, hear me out. This is an interesting one. You have Asher Angel playing Billy Batson. And he doesn't play Billy Batson as an excitable type. He doesn't play him... He plays him as very reserved and cool, and I've lived on the streets and so on and so forth. It's like the director almost forgot to say, hey, either Asher or Zachary, you guys need to get together and figure out how you're doing this, because Shazam is basically just still Billy, but in a bigger body. But he didn't emulate any real traits of Billy. He was just, so excitable, and he's yelling and so on and so forth. And at no point in the movie did Asher portray Billy as being that way. At that point, it was all just, he was always very cool, and just kind of slick and I'm the smartest kid in the room and stuff like that. And because they didn't, it became a little jarring whenever Zachary Levi would come on. And listen, I'm not actually slamming the performance either. I loved the way he played the character. My problem is there felt a disconnect between the Batson character and the Shazam character. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, wholeheartedly. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. And I also sort of wonder where the fault lies. Yeah, you're right. There was definitely a disconnect. I would even go so far as to say that when you're watching the Billy Batson character, he's kind of so humorless that he's not fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, he's sympathetic. That part I got. So yeah, the kind of over the top, over the moon Shazam character who's now look what I can do. Right. It does feel a little off.
Billy Batson, unlock your greatest power.
The entire origin story is told really, really well. I kind of feel like this is the weird part about all this, because here we are, we're talking about this, and we enjoyed it, and yet I'm trying to figure out, is there something I'm missing substance-wise? Because the story is very simple and yet has some subtext, but as I'm talking about it with you now I'm kind of feeling like, am I missing something? Because it kind of feels very small.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of action in this movie.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. And honestly, that's probably what I kind of was alluding to before when I said it was swinging for a double and kind of, inadvertently hit a triple.
Yeah, I feel it's a very accurate description.
I think it was a conscious decision by the filmmakers not to get Looney Tunes carried away. The whole Earth is not going to come to an end if they don't win the day. Even though they kind of are sort of alluding to that, but it doesn't have that weight. I mean, again, it's not about the legions and legions under the sea is going to take, assault against the people. No, it's just, again, it's one guy with a grudge, and he's got his minions, and his minions can be counted on 7 fingers. It's not armies and armies and armies of CGI people coming. So yeah, I mean, the stakes were very reasonable. I mean, this had a much more Wonder Woman kind of a feel as opposed to an Aquaman kind of feel, and certainly not Batman v Superman feel. Yeah, again, like Man of Steel is trying very hard to make you say this is totally serious and we're not kidding. This one is saying we are kidding. We're having a good time and just shut up and enjoy it. So, yeah, I mean, they purposely keep the stakes and they keep the tone at a pretty reasonable level, and it works. So again, they're not trying to be, over the top and super duper serious. In fact, I will sort of lead into the idea that that's probably, and again, I'll go back to the first time I saw the first photo of this film, and I went, oh, they're doing the greatest American hero. I said this is going to be like
nailed that.
Definitely nailed it. And again, that's not a bad thing by any stretch.
No.
I think what they did with that idea, the fish out of water, the whole Tom Hanks and Big kind of a story, it works, and they play that perfectly. And I feel like they take that story and do as much with it. They go as far as they could go without getting overboard with things. So it really does work. So, I think if there's anything, like, I almost feel like this movie is almost above criticism. The only criticism I would have necessarily is that, well, maybe I wanted a little more serious Shazam. Maybe I wanted something that was a little more akin to something that would be a little more realistic and a little more grounded. But this is what we got. And I think they do this really well. And again, I remember seeing Shazam in a lot of the animated films. And they're great. They really do him well. So I almost feel like now that they've done this with Zachary Levi, that's pretty much how it's going to be going forward. So you're not really going to get, it's almost like when they do the post credits, by the way, spoilers, we're already in spoilers. But when Superman kind of shows up, it's almost like you sort of go, oh, wait a second. Like this really is in the same universe as Superman? Like it really kind of almost, the tone, not the tone, but the world seems to shift a little bit, and you kind of go, oh wow, this really is in that world there. And I kind of feel like it was almost more of a like the cameo kind of felt more like a Deadpool cameo, where yeah, he's there, so yes, they're connected, but it's still kind of with a wink. Yeah. Like we're not really gonna put them together because it wouldn't work exactly. But it was, first of all, it was a fun little cameo. But yeah, again, I felt like this story, I mean, all you had to do was see the costume, and you knew this was not going to be like a super serious superhero movie. Right. So again, that would probably be the only thing I have as far as criticisms go, is that they do kind of keep it just a very basic, simple story, and it works. So another thing that I wanted to mention was the fact that I appreciated that this film never really got into anything that was too dark, too grim, too adult. Because I noticed there were a lot of things. Well, I heard another reviewer make a comment that the tone of this film seemed to sort of be akin to the films in the 80s, which sort of brought on the PG-13, like the Gremlins and the Temple of Dooms, that, kind of were teetering up, like tickling the edges of an R-rated, violent sort of a film without quite crossing that line. And I kind of felt like that's sort of where this film was too, because there was a lot of moments where you had like the strip club. They showed the strip club twice. There's some jokes about it, but you never saw the inside. And I'll just say, had this been directed by Michael Bay, well, I don't have to say anything more than that, do I? Yeah, so I mean things like that. The beer when they go inside and they order the beer, like all that planning and to get it, just to walk outside and spit it out, and then go back in and get junk food. So that again, that wholesomeness was there, and I really appreciated that. And then we get to see in the end with the Santa Claus who'd been kind of through the ringer, and he gets interviewed and he's dropping F-bombs, but they're all getting bleeped out. So again, I really like that the tone stayed very consistent, and it stayed something that you probably would have no problem bringing your under 13 child to see. The boardroom probably was the most violent part, and I heard somebody compare that to the operating table in Spider-Man 2. Like that's in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, there was like one really dark scene that again sort of showed you the evil, the villainy of the bad guy that we're gonna fight. So that was again well done. Yes, we get it that he's a bad dude and he's capable of doing bad things. So you don't want to mess with him. So that was well done. But again, I was very happy that they didn't spoil it by getting into some really dark, grim stuff.
Speaking of wholesome, we need some whole numbers. That was terrible. I'm sorry. But yes, we're at that part. We're at that part of the show, ladies and gentlemen, where it's time for Joe and I to give our scores. We score out of 10 for those who are watching on the videos. Joe, Shazam, out of 10.
Out of 10, I think this is a solid 8. And I kind of stand by what I said before about how I think they were swinging for a double and ended up stealing a triple. I feel like this is a very, very solid film. I think it's a nice little surprise for people who just kind of don't want to be bombarded with, this is so deadly serious and everything is awful. I think it was great. I enjoyed the hell out of it. There's a part of me that wants to give it even higher than an 8. But again, I feel like the 9s and the 10s are reserved for the more epic movies.
For me, I don't have such qualms about the 9s or the 10s, to be perfectly honest with you. I can go either way with them. I like to score the movie for as it is. And when I watch this movie, when I think about this movie, I'm just happy. I'm glad that DC is actually making movies where they're no longer ashamed of the fact that they're making comic book movies for whatever reason. I liked all the performances. All the tiny characters had great moments in the sun. I liked how it skirted the line between being overly violent but not really, and overly sexualized but not really. I liked the characterizations. I liked how the story progressed. I loved the tone and the theme. I really enjoyed this movie a hell of a lot more than I really thought I was going to. And I didn't go in with low expectations. I thought this was going to still be a fun movie, but I was kind of surprised, much in the way like when I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which I knew I was going to like, but then was surprised at the depth of emotion that it pulled out of me. There's a scene in that movie where Billy finds his mother that is a knife to the gut. It is such a knife to the gut. You saw it coming. You knew that there was something like that going on. It was telegraphed. It really, really was telegraphed. But when it played out, it crushed me. And I will always give credit to any movie that can give me an emotional reaction like that. Making me feel excited and stuff like that is almost simple. But to have a scene like that play out, where the actor and the woman that was playing his mother played that scene just so well that it hurt me, that's a really good sign of a good movie. That's high quality there for a comic book movie. Grab me by the heartstrings in any movie, and I'm going to give you a 9, which is what I gave this movie. We didn't give 10s here, so that brings up the question. Joe, who asked you?
As opposed to just finding one thing in the film that I would tweak or do differently, I think just sort of the overall tone is where I'm going to kind of go with this. And again, like I said, I think the only thing that really keeps it from being a more epic film is the fact that they do kind of go for a lighthearted comedy. And there's a part of me that says, well, you can't say that because if you look at this as a DC film, this was absolutely the course correction that this franchise desperately needed. And, film goers are crying out saying, could you just give us something that's fun and enjoyable with characters we like? And that was what they heard, and that's what they gave us. So, again, there's a part of me that's like, can't have your cake and eat it too, dude. But I do sort of say, on the other hand, maybe I would have liked something. And again, this is probably from a kid that grew up on Captain Marvel on TV.
Shazam!
So, and of course, when you watch it as a kid, you think this is perfectly believable. This is real life, whatever. So I kind of feel like maybe something a little more grounded would have helped to notch it up just a little bit higher. As it is, it's a great movie. I love when a movie sets out to do what it wants to do. Again, it makes a promise, and either it delivers or it doesn't. This one delivers in spades. It really did tell you from the beginning this is going to be fun, and you're going to enjoy it, and that's exactly what it is.
For me, and I've already mentioned it actually, so this will be very, very brief. I really, really wish that the director had allowed, or whatever the situation may be, where Zachary Levi had worked with young Billy Batson, and the two of them worked out their character together. So this way, it wouldn't be such a jarring transition. It's the physical transformation is enough of a jarring transition. Had he kept the personality of young Billy Batson, it would have been perfect as far as I'm concerned. Being a little excitable because holy smokes, I don't even know how to go to the bathroom in this thing. A very legitimate question, by the way. But, that's fine. There's something to be said about that. But then he's doing things like, at one point they're trying to do a test, and he's doing the floss dance, okay? They have not given any indication that he does any of that type of thing, and there he is doing it. It just kind of was a little jarring to me. I understand that it was like, oh, look, we want to remind everybody that he's a 15-year-old boy. It's like, you could have done it just with the two actors syncing up, That's all. It's really a minor complaint, and I hope that they do something about it in the future movies, because it's really the only thing that I would have changed if I had been directing. For your consideration, this one I loved. This is going back to my Doctor Strange review. For people who haven't watched it, you can or listen to it. Excuse me. Please check it out. One of the things I loved about Doctor Strange is how it ended in such an unconventional way for the comic book movies of its time. And I appreciated that so much. And here they do something similar. They introduced the Shazam family, and you had no clue it was coming. I don't care how savvy you were. I know this character a little bit, and I didn't see it coming. And when it came, I squirmed in my seat. I loved that part where he created the Shazam family. I loved it. It is my favorite thing to happen in this movie because it was such a surprise. It could have been marketed that way. God, you got to figure like some PR people were like chopping at the bit to show off the multicultural Shazams and everything like that. And somebody, whoever you are, I want to kiss and marry you, said, no, it's a surprise. Thank you for that. Not only was it satisfying when it happened, but the fact that it wasn't spoiled before I went in, mwah, 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 beautiful.
I'm struggling to think of anything other than that, quite frankly, because I agree with you, because I do say that was the strength of the film. And that was the magnificence of this film, is that they from the first frame, this film is about family. It's about bad families, good families, different families, and everything in between, frankly. Billy wishing for the other kind of family, not realizing how good the family here is, Dr. Zavana's terrible family, and then, of course, the Shazam family. So it really does explore every avenue of family and redefine what family is. That to me is that's for your consideration. This is a film about family. The superhero part is secondary, and that's what makes it a great film.
That's what makes a great superhero movie in general. You have to have a theme and a story that just contains superheroes. It's like sci-fi. If you're so focused on the sci-fi and not paying attention to the characters and the story, you're not doing a good movie. This movie remembered it was characters first and moved the story around that and did it beautifully.
Wait, what? You actually made it to the end of the video? You sat through all our pontificating? Well, thank you so much for watching, and just to show you that we don't bag on every movie, check out our much more favorable reviews of Unbreakable and Split. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll be back with more videos. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.